Got it pulled up on my phone, so we have one viewer.
All right, we're here. We're back with another album review. It's DJ Falling Up G, Best Friend Strangled Angles here to keep the album reviews going. This is a first, right? Yeah, I don't think there's any other bands we've done two for, although we may have another one coming up soon since Era has a new album coming out, which could be fun to do. So first time for us. We've done enough reviews that we're doing a second review for an artist because Ben Howard kind of hooked you, with Every Kingdom, which I was pretty pumped about because I'm a Ben Howard lover over here. So we decided to go to, I forget where we were, and it was, yeah, I'm really excited to get into this one. Ben Howard as an artist, as we'll talk about at length, but just to foreshadow a little bit, definitely an evolving artist between projects. So gonna be fun to unpack the differences and where he went from Every Kingdom to this one. So yeah, I'll start as we usually do, giving just like a little bit of background on this album. Since you won't have too much, but other than listening to Every Kingdom and then me saying I knew I wanted to review this one too, and you being like, yeah, I'm on board. But for me, I remember just like a little bit about, so like I did listen through Ben Howard's albums like intentionally, starting with Every Kingdom, and then came to this one next. So I did have that backdrop, kind of basically similar to you. What I ended up finding out after listening to more of it is that like I'd heard a lot of the songs before because they were on some of Kaylee's playlist, and she listens to a lot of like acoustic folk and like stuff in the vein of Ben Howard on some of her like casual playlists that we have on around the house and have for like 10 years. So I like surprisingly recognize a lot of the songs. But like I wouldn't have even really fully guessed that those songs were Ben Howard based off of going deep on Every Kingdom, and then jumping here. So it's kind of like a fun adventure of being like, wait, this is this song. This is Ben Howard, same artist who sings like Old Pine or whatever. Also does this one that I've heard on in the background that is not really the same as Old Pine or Keep Your Head Up or whatever. So yeah, I kind of like ended up recognizing some of the songs, and yeah, it was this one was definitely, again, just I'll keep it brief here in the intro. It was a little bit of a grower for me for sure because it was such a big change up from what Every Kingdom was. Like I would say I definitely went into it initially being like, can't wait for more of what I got out of Every Kingdom. That was like my mentality going into this album. Like I was quite into Every Kingdom for a couple months, and then since it's only 10 songs, and as we talked about with Every Kingdom, has like its 3 really really good ones, then has like a good middle section, but it also has like a few that are slower that feel like the pacing doesn't feel amazing on like the back half of the album, and it kind of leaves it like ultimately by the time it had been like maybe a little over a month of listening to it quite a bit, it was like I just want more. I just got to move on to the next album. Like it just felt like I needed more Ben Howard content, like to whet my appetite. So yeah, that was kind of the mentality I came into it with. Curious to hear from your perspective before we jump into track by track and start getting into the weeds. But what was your mentality coming in? Is that kind of where you were at, or did you have anything else in mind? I know you maybe heard a little bit about it from me.
Yeah, I mean, pretty close to the exact same. Like, I think you had kind of alluded that he evolves and changes. So I wasn't exactly sure what to expect, but I was expecting it to not be as different as it is. I'll say that. Like, it's definitely, I love that. I love that he like took a pretty much completely different direction from the first album, and like really chose to experiment and evolve and try something different. It's interesting because I did something that I don't think I've really done this, or at least not as much on any of our other reviews, but after I was done, totally after I was done, so I had all my own opinions down. I was curious and looked at some other reviews, and it was just interesting to see a couple different reviewers compare his timeline to Ed Sheeran, just because I guess they released their first and second albums in similar time spans, and they're both from the UK.
Okay,
they're both acoustic guys. It was just interesting to basically the couple reviews. I won't go too deep into it, but they were both like saying like Ed Sheeran went one route of like as commercial of pop as possible, and this guy was like, I don't fucking care about it. I'm just gonna do my own thing. But yeah, definitely I agree. It's like it had to grow on me a little bit. I'll say that right off the bat. But yeah, for sure.
It would be surprising if that wasn't the case with this. Like if you truly go from Every Kingdom to this album, anybody who like wouldn't say that, who liked Every Kingdom a lot, like I'd be like, really, this just was an immediate, hooked you, like, wow, okay.
yeah, very very different. But yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate the direction he ended up taking. So
Good. Okay, I do
yeah,
too. So we'll see. We also a fun backdrop here that I'm just very curious to see because such a big evolution. But for most people watching know this because we have a huge follower base who's obviously very tuned in here. But Paul and I very closely agreed on Every Kingdom. It was probably our most like in sync review of any album. Like we had the same top three highlights. Felt pretty much the same about the other like middle tier of the album, and we felt the same about what the weakest songs were and kind of what the weaknesses were of the album. So it's gonna be fun to just see like, does it happen again with same artist but huge evolution
yeah,
across projects? So
I'm really curious to see how this goes too. This is not technically one of the prediction questions,
hmm
but I'm gonna predict that we have more differing opinions on this one. But
I would agree. Yeah, I would
I'm
agree,
curious to see though.
especially with like, I mean, and this will factor into like weaknesses, but like knowing how much you were like into the fear and stuff, I was like, you're not getting the fear 2.0 here,
Right.
which
Yeah,
I think everybody. Like, I mean, I went into this like being like, oh, I would want more of that kind of stuff, and it was like, no, I'm not getting pretty much any of it. So there's some adjusting there, but come to love it. I mean, so I'll go ahead and jump in. I feel like we're talking around some things here, so I'll start off right away with track one. I kind of was thinking about like, oh, how do I want to start? And I was like, starting off on Small Things right away for me is a good one because I still remember like the first time teeing up this album and hearing Small Thing, and like literally the first note of the sort of wonky sounding, acoustic, but with like an electric guitar tone kind of to it starts, and you're just like, what am I gonna get? Like, this is, I mean,
Mhm.
literally the first note sounds. You're like, this is not the same as what I was listening to on Every
Yep.
Kingdom. Like, it's immediately so moody, and I'll use the word dark a little bit. There's dark lyrical themes for sure. It's not like incredibly dark. That's like a little bit of an overdramatic way to say it. There's probably a better word that I'll think of and reuse a bunch of times during this review. But moody is definitely one of the words that captures a lot of what the space that this album is in, sort of tone wise and atmosphere wise. And Small Things, I
Mhm.
feel like almost like starts the most, if you could say it, like obnoxiously moody, just with that like twangy, like immediately kind of yeah, just very much. It's not like the same raw acoustic sound, right? Like everything on Every Kingdom is like, is this a guy playing an acoustic guitar in my room with me? No electric plug-in or anything.
Yep.
And like
Nothing.
immediately Small Things starts, and you're like, that's not how this sounds at all, And it's a like, the only thing it's like close to really on Every Kingdom vibe wise is like the Black Flies kind of like a little bit darker of imagery and nature of that song. But so that was like the immediate like head snap of just like, what am I getting into here? This is not what I expected at all, especially out of track one. And Small Things was, I kind of like didn't like it that much for a while just because it was such like a, kind of felt like getting hit in the face by like a totally different thing. But now it's definitely a top highlight for me. If I really freaking love Small Things, I think the part of the beauty of that song is that it's like, it does a thing that he does a handful of times on the album, avoids overdoing it, I would say, in terms of how often he does it, but it like is in this sort of melancholy, that's a better word than dark, that's a word that I was like
Yeah, it's
melancholy
fine.
moody
Yeah.
space, and like a very minor chordy feel for like the half of the song, but then, and the lyrics as well are very much reflective and sort of like think it like dwelling on the things like almost like mental health as a topic and just like being in a dark
Yeah.
place mentally, how to kind of rise above like all the distractions, all the noise in life. And I think there's a lot of grappling with the fame of Every Kingdom in this album, and this is like an
Mhm.
immediate song that I think is, his lyrics are, he does an amazing job again in this album, as he did in Every Kingdom, of like making the lyrics feel very like just grounded in the human experience. They feel very relatable, but they're also very open. Like, they somehow avoid being too cliche, but they're not like just telling one specific story. Like, I think there's a lot of open for interpretation, but you can also tell like the mental space he was in, and they feel somehow deeply personal at the same time, even though they're pretty open for some degree of interpretation. But yeah, this one's pretty clearly, I feel like, in that headspace of like, can tell a lot of probably what he was dealing with after being like huge after Every Kingdom was weighing on him. A lot of like fans telling him to do one thing or critics telling him to do one thing, or feeling pressure to go in a certain direction, and maybe deviating a bit, not wanting to go in that direction, all the noise of life, just trying to separate yourself from that. And then I love the way, so finally to get to the thing I was saying earlier, the thing that he does a few times in this album is he like changes from like the minor key to the major key vibe, and like the sort of atmosphere of the song shifts to kind of an uplifting feel in the back half, not to the point where it like totally breaks the song somehow. Like he really artfully stays in tone, but doesn't leave you just feeling like dejected. You feel like kind of uplifted at the end a little bit, despite the fact that it's a pretty melancholy song. So definitely this one, yeah, is a that's a strength, not a highlight. I'll unhighlight this one right here. Just love the kind of crescendo at the end and the resolution. And because it does such a good job of kind of winding around to that uplifting resolution, like I love how like the moodiness at the beginning is like sort of more forgivable, if you will. It's like kind of like, oh, it doesn't just stay in that like
There's a resolution.
absurdly immediately melancholy space that's so jarring from Every Kingdom. It like wraps back around to something that is a little more resolved as a listener and like level at the end. So
Yeah.
sorry, I really rambled on that one. I could probably do
Oh,
that
you're
about a lot of the
fine.
songs, but I knew I
This
wanted to
is
go deep on that one.
this is a great song. I mean, this is, spoiler alert, is one of my highlights too. Definitely, um, yeah, one of my favorites on the album. I would echo most of the stuff you said. To be honest, I won't repeat all your points, but um, one difference, I liked this one right away for sure.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I liked this one immediately. It got me. I was like excited for what was to come. Just yeah, immediately with the electric guitar, the layered guitars is a big thing on this album. Just like
Yes. Yep.
in this song especially, there's like around the middle of the song, there's like these really high pitched harmonic
Mm-hmm.
little plucks that come in. There's like a slow build up, and then those come in,
Yep.
and then the percussion changes when that comes in, and then the vocals come back in. It like I feel like they do a really good job in this album of layering things and
Yes.
having them build on each other, and having like two, maybe even three at some points, different guitar parts that are like,
Yep.
one's kind of in the background, one's up here doing harmonics, one's over here
Mm.
doing a more bassy
Yep.
thing. um and it really like builds this like soundscape. I think
Yes.
this album, like, I heard Michael say this once, so, and it stuck with me. But I feel like this album creates a lot of space. It feels
Mm.
like
Yeah,
um,
that's very true.
there's just like room for the songs to breathe. Like there's just an atmosphere to the whole thing.
I totally agree. It's every song, and along with the album collectively, it's a very atmosphere-based album. I think like
Yeah,
if you're
for
looking
sure.
for like, whereas Every Kingdom was so melody and like the actual intricacy that was kind of slapping you in the face of the guitar work, and like that being kind of the driving force. Like I wouldn't say those necessarily created atmosphere or like a
Yeah,
big
definitely
soundscape,
not the same
whatever
way, at least.
buzzword you
Yeah,
want to use that like describes that thing, that ethereal thing we're talking about, of like when you listen to music and you feel like you're in like a whole world of the song.
yeah,
But this album, it's like every song does it to some degree, I would say.
yeah, yeah.
Just about.
Oh, yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, it feels very like immersive. Yeah, this song, yeah, like I said, I echo a lot of what you said. Surprising at the beginning for sure.
Yeah, the opening
Um,
twang after Every Kingdom is.
yeah, yeah, love the whole second half of this song too. After that part
Yeah.
I was just talking about,
I
just with
think
the
your point about
different
the layers
different
too.
guitar parts that come in, especially
Yeah.
towards the end, and then you get a little violin towards the end
Yeah.
too. It's just like, yeah, the layers.
Yeah, I think you saying that word, I hadn't like thought of that specific word in digesting the album, but I think part of what the layers do is they help keep it cohesive, but let the songs be dynamic. Like there'll be still a core guitar line that felt really moody in the beginning or whatever, like going on, but he contrasts it with another layer that comes in later and like
Hmm.
gives it a different feel. But you didn't just like go to a totally different riff or totally different melody or anything like that. It's like, oh, you have the same actual base layer there, but it's kind of change direction and you get like a curveball of other layers, sometimes taking things in different directions and sometimes just building them into a much more immersive and like bigger experience. It's not like always a curveball or anything like that, but that's a fun thing that he does that this is a great example of. It took me, I think, like 3 or 4 listens on this song, maybe even more than that, frankly, since like I said, this one initially was almost like a turnoff of just like, what am I, what, this is the same guy as Old Pine, this is where he went. To like realize how gorgeous that like ending was. I feel like I still also remember like being on a walk and being like, I'm just gonna play through the whole album again. Like I'll start with this one, even though I kind of wanted to start with track 2. And then like I remember it being in like when that like you said that like little softer like harmonic higher pitched like sequence comes in guitar that like really is the one that like makes it feel give it that like major chordy like uplifting feel and being like whoa, and it was like the sun was out and I was like wait, this song's not as moody as I thought it was, where like it took me a few listens to like notice this beauty coming through here. So
yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I also echo that this song I'm pretty sure is like about mental health, and it feels like he's talking about being overwhelmed with the world, probably what you said, from fame or whatever. Definitely get that vibe from the lyrics. I could probably honestly
we probably already touched on some things.
I feel like all my what stands out pretty much been said already.
Small Things is I'll say this too, we're spending a lot of time on this, but frankly I think it deserves it. Small Things is an amazing track 1 in terms of just what you want to do with a track 1, because it's like definitely not all the tricks of the album, if you will, but it is what the album is about, sort of lyrically. It's there, it's musically, it's there, tone, it's there, but then it like has the right amount of creativity still. Great track 1, really. So I think it makes sense that after one song pretty much uncover a lot of what stands out. And I can immediately say this like significant shift in tone from Every Kingdom. Let me remember what my other things are. We already touched on this, so I'll say this one right away. Well, the album is subdued in nature. The atmosphere on the album is massive, sucks you in. This is a good example of this, and I can kind of immediately contrast it since I'm already doing a lot of the talking about Every Kingdom, which we'll probably do a little less of as we go. But the instrumental portions of these songs, like the instrumentals were good on Every Kingdom, but like the parts that were really cool, like Old Pine's beginning and stuff, like they were good instrumental parts, but they were good mostly because they were like really cool, fun guitar lines that were really intricate and really impressive. In this album, some of that's still going on. Like I think, especially when you watch that like Small Things live video, like he's clearly like doing very intricate stuff on a single guitar that it does an immense amount of heavy lifting in terms of the sound created. But this album just does a much better job of creating those like big atmospheric parts. Like we like one of our criticisms of like Black Flies and Promise and some of the songs that were like trying to do that on the other album was like they didn't always land super impactfully. Like they felt like you gave that a lot of time and space, and like it didn't quite get there for like that 2-minute chunk was kind of like it just wasn't good enough for that 2 minutes to justify it being this like 2-minute chunk of a song. Like I wish you just made it 30 seconds or whatever. Whereas like Small Things, it's like I don't want that song to be any shorter.
No, definitely not.
And I already touched on this too, so might as well reveal a bunch of stuff right away. Dark and melancholy mood. But has some really nice change ups to not make it feel like oppressive in that darker emotion, which is a tough balance to strike, I would say. And we've had a lot of conversations about some stuff like Knocked Loose, some other artists where I feel like they go dark and it's like it's hard for me to stay there that long and just feel good in this point in my life specifically. Like I think that's something that ebbs and flows with the emotions you're experiencing in life, but this album, despite the fact that it's clearly in that register of emotion, that's kind of other side of the spectrum of Every Kingdom, I would say, it's like also not oppressively so, and it feels much more balanced than something like Knocked Loose.
So. Yeah, I would generally agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you think of Rivers in Your? Is it Rivers in Your Mouth? I always forget the exact name of that song because it's not the same way. Rivers in Your Mouth. Yeah.
In Your Mouth. Yep. I like this one. Very like catchy, upbeat start. So already we're like, okay, a little feels different immediately than the first one already. I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really actually love the beginning of it. It brings back harmonic plucking again
Yeah.
already, and the like wire brush drums. It just gives a really like fun, upbeat vibe at the beginning. They're doing the layered guitar thing super. I mean, I could probably say that for basically every song. They really like just nail that like layered guitars as we were talking about. The bridge slash ending portion is a nice change up with
Yeah.
like very pretty outro guitars. And one thing I'll say now that goes for a lot of the songs, like I said, bridge slash ending portion, because it doesn't go back to a chorus.
Yeah.
And they actually do that a bunch on this album.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
That they'll just like kind of have another movement at
Yep.
the end of the song. It's not, it feels like a bridge, but then there's just no chorus. It just like turns into an outro. And
that's a good point.
I think it works really well for what they're going for on this album. But yeah, I mean, there's just tons of songs that have unique outros.
I didn't even really notice that, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think in my notes, I think I have a few other ones specifically pointed out, but it happens a lot. And yeah, just something I noticed, like definitely on first listen, this song I assumed it was a bridge, assume it's coming back, and no, this is just the last movement, which I think is cool.
Yeah,
definitely. Man, I will say, after hearing the live version, I was like, man, why didn't he sing it like that?
Yeah, the way he sings. Yeah, I sent Paul a live version of the song that if you just Google the song like Ben Howard Rivers in Your Mouth live and watch the first one that comes up, it's the live band does a really good. I was just getting really into the album this last like week. It's kind of funny. This one took me a while to get more into it, probably because I knew this album already really well. So like the first couple weeks of the review, I'd like put it on and just be like, yeah, that's all stuff I like. And then for some reason this week, probably just started with I was like reading a little bit more about him as an artist and started to watch a couple of the live videos, and I was really captured by these like kind of studio live performances. It was like, wow, this would be awesome to see live. And he like, you just see energy. Like I would say that a lot of the songs are recorded in such a way that they feel quite subdued, and I think that's intentional. It's a vibe they were going for. But when you see the performance, you see the nuance of where the emotion was from the songwriting perspective and from like the performers, like where they're getting into it, and that just adds some texture. And yeah, that the part right before the instrumental kind of outro of Rivers in Your Mouth where he sings, you taught me life was learning how to be your friend. He like sings it like kind of like pretty intensely, like borderline almost has a second of it being a scream type thing. And it's just captures an emotion that's like not there on the studio version of the track. So yeah, that's really cool. I agree that stood out to me. I was like, all right, I gotta send this one too. This is really good, especially because this one for me, I debated this. It's kind of a weird one. Like, I think I don't know. This is a hard album to pick highlights on. That I'll get into that later. Mostly, I just think it's like a really incredibly consistent album all throughout. Like, there's a couple songs that are maybe a little weaker than the others in my opinion, but like really, I think anybody could make an argument that almost any of the songs could be highlights. So that's a little bit of a spoiler of how I feel about this album that you'll start to see. But I'm probably not surprised by how I've talked about it already. But I think this one deserves being called out as a highlight for me because it was the first one that I was like, oh, this song freaking rocks. Like this was the first, like in the early listens, just that outro for me. It's funny that like what stood out to you was the beginning, because this song for me, like first listen, I was like, oh my gosh, that outro is just gorgeous. It just like listening to that like in the car or whatever, like it just felt like it took me to a very peaceful place. Yeah, and I think the guitar work, it's such a good example of how as an artist, like to me the contrast here, this is like between what I would have said was beautiful in Every Kingdom compared to like calling this outro beautiful. It's completely different like execution of music, but he's still capturing an emotion, capturing an atmosphere, putting you in a place as a listener where it's like, this is just beautiful, I just want to sit in this. And that's like really impressive to be able to do it so differently across two albums. So just something I wanted to highlight that I was kind of thinking about as like there's just literally nothing on Every Kingdom that sounds anything like the outro of this song, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And like so I'm glad he like explored this new space, because like now I get both of it.
Yeah, this is a great one. It didn't quite make my highlights. I think it would have on like listen 1 or 2, but This
Okay. Yeah.
I put 4 highlights. This definitely would be number 5, but I just
Okay.
cut it
Interesting.
off. I
Yeah.
felt
Cool. I
like
put
this
4
one
as
was a
well. So.
tier below my top 4. So for me personally,
Yeah.
um, okay. One thing I will note about this song, we've talked about the lyrics a little bit. I think I even
Yep.
put it in my what stands out that the lyrics
Oh
are
yeah.
very poetic, very emotionally vulnerable.
Yes.
Um, this song, and there's a couple songs. I'm kind of lost in the metaphors.
I
on
was
this.
reading some interpretations of this song, and
I don't like when I hear this song. I'm like not really jiving with the lyrics specifically because I just don't really know what's going on. Like
yeah.
if I read this, it sounds like he has a girlfriend that is just like diarrhea of the mouth, and she won't shut up.
Oh, that's funny.
Rivers in your mouth.
I think to me,
Trying to keep
I read
time
some
with you all hours of
interpretation.
the day.
Yeah.
But that like can't be it, right? I don't know.
I think it's the you he's speaking to is like just the world, like external,
Okay.
basically like inputs into life, and I I don't know. Yeah, it's maybe that's like incredible, like too big, but I think trying to make sense of the like basically there's all this grappling of like you said, like it sounds like somebody that's like a negative influence and like is pouring out stuff that's like hard, like not influence he wants in his life, but then there's also this kind of resolution at the end of like life's learning how to like be okay with this. Life is learning how to actually coexist with you.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Sort of like an internal, external, like that's my best interpretation because
like
I do agree. This is a pretty good
broad-
example of him being like really out there. Like some songs are more so than others, and this is probably like to your point. This might be like literally the most like it's very unclear what specifically he's talking about.
Yeah, not that it's like not poetic, but just yeah, as far as like what he's actually meaning, he's trying to communicate, it's definitely fuzzy. But I like your more broad approach. Yeah, I guess I was viewing a lot of it through the lens of relationships, since like the title track, for example, is so clearly about relationship.
Yes, I think it is. Yeah,
there's multiple that are obviously like end of the affair. Oh, we're talking about a relationship here, you know.
Fun fact: that's actually based off a book. So is Conrad. So we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. Well, see, maybe I just.
But the book is about a relationship.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
It's about
I just wanted to call that out that the lyrics.
Yeah.
Puzzled me on this one.
Yeah, I think he. Yeah, this one I think that's very true. I think in general with the lyrics, he's like uses. I think some of the relationship speak he does is like intentionally. It kind of reminds me of like I heard. You know the song "Better Hell" by Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I heard that like that whole album. Somebody said this and I read it somewhere and I was like, that might make sense. I don't know if it's true or not at all. But like somebody said that whole album is all about alcohol abuse, basically like relationship with alcohol, every song. And like every song on that album is basically feels like a variation of like a breakup or bad relationship song. It's like Empty Handed, Better Hell, All Gas. Yeah. But like the last song on the album is Drunk Enough, which is 100% about alcohol.
Right.
And if you listen to all of them, they actually all basically make full sense if they were about alcohol. Like there's like little bits and pieces there that like make less sense, but like it could make total sense. And it just made me think like, oh yeah, I think artists can use relationship like imagery and sort of as like almost like as a metaphor of like I'm communicating a relationship with something else, but I'm using like a human like loving like partner love relationship as a way to like paint the picture of this struggle with this thing. And I do think he does that. I'll say that's like my personal choice. Again, like I think some of it's just meant to be open-ended. Like some of these songs definitely apply to actual relationships, but I think they also apply to other things. Like, I would say that's probably true of Rivers in Your Mouth. But so.
Yeah, no, that's interesting about the Bill Murray album, and definitely like I mean, good writing is often able to be interpreted in different ways. So.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well.
Here's another random interpretation. Is he referring to himself? Saying like, "Oh, I'm this singer-songwriter. I have all this stuff pouring out of my mouth." Like, but
that's what I thought for a second. but there, there's a few different you lines.
Yeah. Right.
Where I'm like, it doesn't seem like he's talking about himself. I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no,
That's enough
that was
analysis.
my first thought, but as I listened to it more, I was like, yeah, it sounds like he's talking about someone else for
I don't
sure.
really think he's talking about. Yeah, my opinion is that my favorite interpretation is the one of it being sort of like a version of like. So I mean, again, I think a lot of it ties back to his experience with like the rise to fame and probably all the like external voices you then have, like comments on your videos. You have your out like whoever you make like the record label, you know, your producer, you have your bandmates, you have like your critics, you have your fans, you have all these inputs of like telling you what they want from you, and you have to decide what you want, but like doing what you want suddenly might mean letting down literally millions of people. And I think
Yeah,
that's like and like I would say, given what this album is, he probably knew he was going into that territory. Like, oh, sorry, there's no Only Love 2.0 or whatever.
right,
Not even freaking close, you know. So
yeah.
I have to imagine that weighed on him to some degree. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah. Anyways, let's talk about the title track since we referenced that
sounds
one. So
good.
this is, you know, I always like to have this as a frame of reference. Sometimes I bring it up when we talk about some of these songs. But you know, the title track on this one, I don't know if you looked at like the plays on Spotify. Far and away the most played song has like 130 million. Next most played is actually
Wow.
Small Things at 84 million, which is, you know,
Yeah, I tend to not pay attention to that. That's interesting though. I would not have guessed that this was the most played
it
one.
must have been the hit of the album, and to some degree, I think it makes sense along with like maybe one or two others as like candidates as like the radio hit of the album. I think it's like has the closest thing to resembling like kind of like a catchy hook, big chorus, like feels most overtly about a relationship. In addition to just like She Treats Me Well, obviously, which we'll get to. But like it feels like the highest degree of accessibility on an album where the
Yeah.
accessibility dial is dialed down to like 2 out of 10. It's like this one's like
Right.
this song is probably like 4 out of 10, and the average song's like between 1 and 2 out of 10. So this is
Yeah.
kind of like in that sense, it's not surprising. I think this is a super solid one. I think this is like a great like listening to the album. It's like it's not anywhere near a skip for me. It's not like a song where I'm like, oh, I think he tailored to the radio or anything. Like I think it fits the album really well, fits the mood really well, does something different. Like it's like we're at track 3 now, so still a lot of the album to go, but like it doesn't feel like the same thing as Small Things, doesn't feel like the same thing as Rivers in Your Mouth, kind of connecting with a bit of a different emotion. Again, a little more melody driven, I'd say. The It does have kind of like, you know, on the back half of the album, it's like yet another song that doesn't really go back to that third chorus. I think it kind of does a bit more of an outro, and even does, I think, a bit of a pre-chorus, but like doesn't actually do the third chorus if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, yeah. It like
And
starts.
it's a really
Yeah.
nice ending. I love the ending once again. Back half
Mm-hmm.
of the song is really good, but
Because it's also like a modified pre-chorus if I remember
yeah,
right. It's
yeah,
got like a little more stank
yeah,
on it.
yeah. I like that.
Some
Yeah, that's a
extra
good way to say it.
elements
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. He
Yeah.
kind of he sings it differently, and it's in a fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah, with some type of extra emphasis that gives it a different vibe. Um, but yeah, it's just a really solid one. It's like a great example of much better than filler, but it's not a highlight for me. It's kind of just like, yeah, this is a really good song. Really glad it's on the album. Um, I don't know.
That's
Do you have
yeah.
anything more specific to say on
That's
that one?
pretty much where I'm at with it too. It's definitely not like a skip or anything like that. I don't, it's not one of my favorites, but I like it. Um, I like the climax. It has a good climax in it, like good, moment with like big vocals, big drums. Yeah, and I was gonna highlight the ending too that you already called out. I said this song has me yearning for summer, as it talks about in the song.
Mm,
Mostly talking about how it seems like it's about like a relationship that was happening in the summer and then it was good in the summer and now it's not.
yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm getting from it, at least. That's extremely simplified, but
Yeah. No, I think this one feels pretty clearly about, again, like if there's a different metaphor where it's not about a relationship, it's
yeah,
a less obvious one. Like this one feels like more simply about a partner relationship that, yeah, kind of like was good, but had basically ups and downs, goods and bads, and
right. And summer, yeah, summer could be that could be a metaphor for just the good period or whatever.
yeah.
That could be too, but when I'm listening to it lately, I'm like, man, give me summer.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction.
Yep, yep. All right.
Yeah, in dreams.
In dreams. Um, this one, we're still pretty early on in the album, I guess, but this one is immediately refreshing for me because it sucked me in immediately with
Bring back that acoustic
gorgeous
guitar too.
acoustic guitar.
Yep.
It's like, oh wow, this almost sounds like it actually kind of reminds me of Diamonds a little bit. Like it sounds like at least parts of it definitely could. This is probably the closest song to being.
It is. I would agree with that. Yep.
Every Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I like that there's one in there that's like sort of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love how the song flows, just like nonstop momentum with the constant acoustic guitar, finger picking, and yeah, it feels very introspective and brooding. You know, still going with that tone, even though like it does feel back to his roots, so to speak. But then like the bridge in this one does finally give like a satisfying emotional release, brings in like a happier sound.
Yep.
I think it's a really effective. I said this feels like I'm like walking on like hiking a mountain trail or something. It sounds like a very like classic folk song, just with like it does have the like darker tone of the album going, at least in the first chunk. But yeah, this is just a feel good. I feel like it's just extremely well executed for what it is. This is my next highlight.
Yeah,
I really like it a lot. Yeah,
pretty sure this would be a highlight for both of us. It's a highlight for me as well. Yeah, it's refreshing in a number of ways. The acoustic guitar, remember how I said with like the Hands That Thieve, there's that part where the acoustic guitar comes in on like track 4. I think it's the title track. I think it's track 4. Yeah, track 4. And it just after this is a much different version of kind of intense. Like, but you know, there's like in that album it was like 3 pretty driving electric guitar, like just hectic, chaotic songs, and the acoustic guitar comes in track 4. And it's like, oh, I'm breathing. Okay, this is nice. That like there's a little bit of that going on. Not quite to that extent, but it definitely is like refreshing to hear the acoustic come back and be the absolute centerpiece like of the musicality in the song. So I said one of the few that mirrors Every Kingdom's dependence on the raw acoustic guitar. But still sticking to, like you said, the emotional vibe of the album and kind of doing a little bit of what Small Things did of that like brooding first portion, but then a really echo what you say about the resolution feeling really satisfying, leaving you kind of on a high note. Fun, poetic, cryptic lyrics, and somewhat reflective. Once again, the other thing that's nice about this one too is he's like definitely does. It's a great example here. One of the things I think he like really improved at with this album is just the pacing of the album overall. I thought like with Every Kingdom, it was like started with all one thing, and then like the end of the album, like last 3 were all the slowest songs, and it was just like, why didn't you space this differently? Maybe even have more tracks in here to just like make it flow in a way that like it doesn't just feel like sort of part A, part B, 2 different styles. And I feel like this one definitely feels like a break from what was going on with the first few. Like the first few feel pretty connected, and this one the tone, like the emotion stays the same. Musically it feels like a bit of a break, and then it's also like only 3.5 minutes. It's like, oh, this is actually a normal, like shorter length song, which has not been the case yet. It's been like 5:40, then 5:10, then 4:40. So it's like nice to have just like a shorter, almost catchier song. It's still not entirely fair to, I think, call this one like incredibly catchy or anything, but it's like it's closer to that type of track than any of the 3 before it.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique one on the album. Yeah.
I forget where we were is kind of catchy, but like in a different way. This one's like more so in just like the fast-paced, like a little bit snappy way, and the verses are really catchy. So yeah, really like this one.
We've got a Twitch commenter that says the biggest letdown of this album is the sound of the drums. That's an interesting opinion.
Oh, yeah. I
actually quite like the drums on this album. They do have a unique sound. I could see how it could be off-putting, but
I also just feel like it's interesting because I feel like the drums, like I guess I'd be curious. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, the Baptist one. But I'd be curious, is that specifically something you think is different from like Every Kingdom as a frame of reference? Because like to me, the drums in Every Kingdom don't like sound way better. It feels very flat and dull.
No, I don't think. I think in Every Kingdom, the drums were like hardly.
They stood out less to me in Every Kingdom than in this album. But maybe I would say that I'm interpreting that like to me the drums it's not necessarily how they sound per se. I guess that's where I was saying they're very flat and dull. I think one thing I like is you can tell they use different types of drums and percussive elements across the songs. Like it's not like so we listen to a lot of metalcore, we listen to a lot of like rock where it's like they have one drum kit and they use different drums on the drum kit, but it's like clearly one drum kit. I feel like with these types of songs, there's like wire brush coming in. There's like in Conrad, there's different drum sounds for different songs and different portions of songs where it's like, and some of it's the percussive elements actually just him like tapping on the guitar too, which I know isn't drums. That's probably not what this commenter is talking about, but I think that's the thing that I think is I appreciate about Ben Howard is it doesn't feel like there's just like one. They do these drums on all the songs. It's like
Right.
pretty different depending on the song, but I definitely would say I don't think the drums are emphasized in the mix that much in general, and maybe that's part of what
Yeah,
they're referring to. Like the drums are
I can.
pretty far
I
back in the
think
mix, and
the tone of the drum sound is definitely unique on this album. It feels like a little more muted. It doesn't have like a snappy, punchy
right.
snare, for example.
Yeah.
Like how like to take an extreme example, since we talked about Knocked Loose earlier. Like on the Knocked Loose
Yeah.
album, the snare is like a shotgun.
Yeah, it sounds
Whereas like on this,
so
it's
front
like
and center when it
very,
happens. Yep, yeah, it's grabbing
very
your attention.
dampened. But I think it's very intentional. But I can understand why it could be off-putting because it's unique. But I think it's intentional. I think it's with the like somber, melancholy, moody feel they're going for. I think that's the choice of the drums. But
Yeah, and there are it's from the live videos I watched. There are some moments that definitely jumped out. I was like, oh, those drums like. I, now that I heard it in this live version, I realized that's like what the drums did in the song, but I didn't really notice because it was so far back in the mix. And
yeah,
you even more so than me, I tend to like really appreciate drum work and how the drums sound. So I'm guessing you'll agree with this, but I would say in general, like I think it's pretty easy for drums to get pushed to back of mixes, and I tend to like when they're pulled a little more forward, just so that you can really like appreciate what's going
same.
on. And I do think there's some songs. I don't know that any of these it's really true. In fact, the Rivers in the Mouth video is one that stood out where I heard the drummer in the live video, and there were some drum parts. I was like, that was pretty cool. I definitely like never noticed that in
Didn't
the
notice
studio
it.
recording of the song. So that's like a good
Yeah,
example. But there's a couple like I would say we'll get to them, but like Conrad and End of the Affair, where there's drum stuff that like I think's really noticeable. That's very additive to the studio versions of the songs that are on the album. So yeah, I don't definitely wouldn't say the drums are a strength of the album, but I also don't think I'd like. I think I thought they were even less additive on Every Kingdom, personally.
I agree. I noticed them more here. I call them out in one song. I think they like for the most part do the job. They do kind of hide in the mix in some songs, but I think they stand out at least particularly in one song in my opinion that we'll get
Yeah.
to later. But
Okay.
all right.
Well, yeah, let's go. And thanks for tuning in. I don't think we've ever had a commenter on album review before, so thanks to Baptist for being the first. Appreciate you listening in. So, She Treats Me Well, track 5. I I I was very this is the song one of the songs I'm most curious to see where you land on. It feels very
Okay.
much like Only Love 2.0. Like, if there was a spiritual successor to Only Love on this album, it's very clearly this song.
Okay.
Part like largely because the lyrics are like I would say Only Love is the most cliche lyrical song by like
Yeah.
a tremendous margin on Every Kingdom, to perhaps an unforgivable extent. But
Yeah.
I would say this song is also the most cliche lyrical song on the album, but like feels just like a fun, heartwarming like I have a good thing going on at home, and it's helpful for me. It's a grounding thing for me, and I think this song too. I thought Only Love had some cool guitar riff parts, but was overall like also one of the more forgettable musical songs. Like it wasn't super surprising to me that it was a big hit because it's like that
Mhm.
accessibility factor on that one's like dialed up to 10. In this case, She Treats Me Well. Pretty cool. It actually is a song that I would say the drums are one of the driving forces of this song. I don't know that I'd say the drums are like particularly amazing, but they're definitely like an emphasis in the mix and are helping move the song along, and they do like cooler stuff. And particularly with this one, I would say like first this is a song where it's like if the whole song was kind of like what the first half was, it would be like pretty forgettable, but like it has like the little jam session at the end that I just think's really satisfying and really good and helps like give the song texture and personality.
Yep.
that
Once again,
that
another
surpass. Yeah,
outro part.
another outro. I think I love is that the outro is very dramatically though. It's like the outro of Small Things is much different than the outro of Rivers in Your Mouth. It's much different than In Dreams. It's much different than this one. And this is the one that I would say truly feels like a little bit of a jam session, which he did on the first album bit, and has not really touched yet. Like Rivers in Your Mouth, yes, it's like an instrumental, but it's much more vibey and melancholy still, and like relatively slow paced, even though it is somewhat technical. But this one just does feel like we're kind of doing a jam band thing for a little bit. It's just pretty fun, and like the vibe of the song is pretty like lighthearted and fun too. So yeah, one that
Yeah.
it's not a highlight for me, but it's very additive to the album. It's not one that I think is a skip. Like Only Love was, more in that territory. But I'm curious to see if that's where you landed.
This one, this one is a rare. This is like the opposite of a grower for me. Honestly, this song became more and more grating the more I
Oh
listened to this
dang.
album, and it's definitely like now that I'm done with the review portion, this is definitely like a skip for me.
Okay.
I do enjoy the guitar work, and I
Yeah,
like the
it's sweet. I
intro.
think.
Just like pretty much the rest of the song is just kind of forgettable, and kind of the verses and choruses. Maybe it's partially the lyrics too. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, over time, this one kind of like wore on me, and it's just kind of boring. Other than like the ending,
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't do much for me, to be
That's
honest.
fair. I kind
It
of
feels
thought
a
that it
little
might
out
fall
of
more.
place.
Yeah, you like were more harsh on Only Love than me, and I was
Yeah,
like, I wonder if that'll be the same vibe here.
yeah,
Where like for me, this is definitely like totally enjoyable enough, good enough to not feel like filler. But because again, I think a thing about this song that is more true, much more true of this song on this album for me than Only Love was, because Only Love was like definitely falling in what they were doing. This is like in Dreams, I call that as like a little bit of a change up, a little shorter, a little more catchy. This is sort of continuing that change up, but in like an even more different direction. Like we started really brooding and moody, and we stayed there for like 3 songs, basically. Like honestly, basically 4 songs, but like the fourth one kind of got into like a little bit more upbeat of a space, and was ended with some like uplifting resolution, and then we get like this one like, okay, well, we kind of took that uplifting energy into like a fun little jam session type song that's simpler, not as heady, like clear the air a little bit. I'm not just like trying to read, crazy metaphors like Jesse Raborti lyrics or whatever. Like, give me a break.
right.
And then, then we move from that. We can probably just move on right to Time is Dancing, which is like,
Mhm.
oh, we're back in the, you know, moody, like very metaphorical, very open, spacey feel. So for me, that like She Treats Me Well, part of like I feel like if it was just like track 1 or track 10, I would probably agree with you more, but it's
Mm.
like situated in a spot for me that's like a little bit of like a breather. So,
That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. So Time is Dancing.
Yeah, Time is Dancing. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, this one I like it. Overall, well, you know what? I like it enough. I like the beginning, and then it kind of just does the same thing for the whole song.
Yeah, very rhythmic,
Yeah,
very repetitive.
It's a very consistent, like somber vibe. It's like definitely with the mood of the album, and it's like I like the vibe,
Mm-hmm.
but it like kind of flirts with a build up towards the middle, but it doesn't really go
there,
anywhere. And then like, yeah, I don't know. Towards the end, it's like that. There's like the silence,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just like another chorus, and it kind of just goes back
Yeah.
to the end. I'm not saying like, oh, I hate any song that just comes back to a chorus at the end. Like,
Yeah, I know
not
what you
it.
mean though. I mean,
It's just like
it's not the
I
most
don't know.
exciting chorus either.
It
It's
feels
but,
like this song was going somewhere different to me.
mm-hmm.
You know, and it's not even that like I don't like any song that doesn't have a big build-up moment, but this
Right.
one, it sounded like there was gonna be,
Yeah.
and then there wasn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, this one is like, I'll just be honest, just a little bit of a spoiler. This portion of the album is by far my least favorite portion. It's a little bit of a
That's
slog.
fair. Yeah.
This song, the song
can see
before
that.
it, and honestly the next song too.
Okay. I was wondering where you'd land with these.
Yeah, but yeah, like this song, like the first minute, I'm like feeling it, and then I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm kind of ready to move on. Like,
Yeah.
I like the vibe. I've this could be like a minute 30 interlude of that vibe, and
Yeah,
then
sure.
cut it off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair critique of some of what's going on in the album, and I think in particular, this song and Evergreen, like that we'll get into, like maybe like Conrad too, kind of stray further into the territory of like here, like what you were saying, Michael, like the description Michael had something about like space. I don't know. It feels like it's creating a space, and then it's just like we're gonna like live here for 649, and we're gonna
Right.
not really go very many places. Like it's kind of got the Ava and the Waving World thing going on, where it's just like I would say this is the song. Like he had a couple songs on the Every Kingdom that we critiqued as like going on a little too long, like Promise and Black Flies, and this is the one on this album that I think you could cut a minute off and like you wouldn't even notice probably. But yeah, so like it's just long, heavy-handed to keep doing what it's doing repetitively, but I do really like the rhythmic. Like again, nothing like this on Every Kingdom. It's just kind of got this like beat and it's moving to it. It's like a little bouncy, but also melancholy at the same time. Also a little catchy, and I think this one ties into like something about this album that I think is a strength. Like this is not a highlight for me, and it's definitely in terms of strength. Like you said, I can pretty immediately agree with your sentiment. Like I think we'll talk like that. You know, the start and the end of the album are definitely like where the higher highs are. But like for me, I think this album is just absolute top tier, like easy listening background type music of like I remember
Oh,
I'd
for
put it
sure.
on when I was like
And this
gonna
song is a
paint.
prime example. This is a great background
Yeah,
music
like I'm
song.
like painting the wall. I don't need something that's like I'm fully listening to. I'm doing some task or maybe going for a
Yeah.
walk and I'm kind of thinking about stuff, but kind of in the music. Like this type of song is like very pleasant for that. I do think this is the one that like I said, I would specifically say like either go somewhere a little more that's differentiated a little more, like he does that better in the other songs, or just cut like a minute and a half off of it or something because it's just so long that I think it doesn't need to be that long, especially
Yeah.
when some of it is just like basically silence for a little bit, which I tend to think that type of thing is just like fully avoidable. Like at the end of the day, I don't need like 30 seconds of basically silence in any song ever. Like I'd rather there be something going on.
Unless there's a
Um,
big payoff, right?
yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah. It's just
uh,
like silence and then, oh, here's another chorus. Oh, okay. All
yeah.
right.
So I agree. This is like a little bit more of a weaker one, but for me, it's also still additive to the album. It's still additive to like the atmosphere the album creates. Like listening through this album 1 through 10 for me is like really solid experience where I feel like my head's and like the sort of energy level of the music and like headspace and all that can just be incredibly like even keel like throughout that listening experience, and I feel like this one keeps you in that space and is a little bouncy and jaunty. Like this one was an early one for me that I'd say maybe was a little bit like what you said about She Treats Me Well, whereas early on I was like, oh, I really like this one. I love this like little chorus melody and this like bouncy little guitar thing going on, and then like the more I listened to it, I was like, wait, it's that long, it's still going on. Like it the like
Yeah.
length of it got, and then I realized like you said, it's like just kind of repeats a lot of the same stuff, so it's like it gets a little old. So it
Yeah.
didn't like age into it, like aged out of my like top half of favorites on the album, but still one I enjoy.
Yeah. I definitely liked it more the first time I heard it. But I even remember the first time hearing it being a little bit disappointed because I was like,
You're
oh,
like waiting, like where's this going? Yeah.
I really like the beginning of this. Ooh, what's gonna happen? And then like get to there's build up, this
Yep.
silence, and like something's coming. Not really. But yeah, definitely a good background song for sure.
Yeah. And one thing I like about this one that I'll call out and transition it into Evergreen is again like I guess I'm seeing the like roadmap here of the critique of kind of this middle section of the album being the weakest, which I would agree with that just in terms of quality. But I do really like there's still ways to make it like when you just listen to 1 to 10, that listening experience flow better, and I do think they really nailed it here with like where these songs are placed because like you get that She Treats Me Well breakup, like I said, that like gives you a little jam session, kind of bring your energy level gets a little heightened with like the In Dreams being faster paced, fun acoustic stuff. Then you get the like jam session, like fun guitar stuff with a little bit of fun drum patterns, and She Treats Me Well. And then Time Is Dancing kind of like brings you back into the like slower paced melancholy, but it's still like a little jaunty and bouncy with its like rhythm. So it's still kind of like tying into the energy before it, but then by the end, it's like giving these long spaces of nothing and slowing it way down, and then it slows it even more down all the way to Evergreen. And I do like kind of the way the transition happens. Like it's a little more drawn out than it needs to be, but like from that kind of energy of Time is Dancing into just that, like, again, it kind of almost has the Small Things beginning going on where it just has this super like moody melancholy acoustic beginning of Evergreen. I really like that that like acoustic. I don't know, I like the beginning of it. It's like just, yeah, just kind of like it captures you in the emotion pretty quickly, I feel like, of how just this dark backdrop of this song, and the song name too kind of makes you feel like you're like in an evergreen forest in winter or something, and it's dark out. I don't know, and you can see your breath. I don't know. Evergreen is like definitely. I would say Time is Dancing at plus Evergreen. That combo is like, to reference the joke I keep making, so it's getting really old, but like accessibility dialed all the way down to like, you know, -5 or whatever here, or like super repetitive, you know, kind of like long drawn out song into like really slow, not really anywhere in the realm of catchy. But I like Evergreen. You know, you gave the precursor that it's not going to be a favorite for you, so and it's not a favorite for me, to be clear. I would probably say my bottom 3 songs are 5, 6, 7. But like, I do think all of those songs are enjoyable in different ways and really add to like the just atmosphere of the album, the experience listening to the album, and still bring something to the table as an enjoyable song. Like, I still enjoy getting this one when I listen through the album, even though it's slow. It's only 4 minutes, so it's like slow, but much more forgivably
Very
slow,
much
because it's
enjoy it,
not actually.
yeah.
I mean, even though 4 minutes isn't actually that short of a song, but in this album, it's the second shortest song.
But
So
yeah,
yeah, it's not dragging. It's not like, you know, I could like this type of song could have been like 6 minutes on Every Kingdom or whatever, with just like a random
right.
1 minute of nothing beginning or something. So
right.
I don't know. Yeah, I still like Evergreen, but yeah, it's very stripped down, very slow paced, very very moody, um, but isn't like memorable, overly memorable in any one way. So I'm
Yeah,
guessing
that's
you're going to
mostly,
resonate with.
yeah. I like the stage that it sets, you know, the image you're describing of yeah, evergreen, being able to see your breath, all that stuff. Like, definitely get it. And it like definitely creates an atmosphere and stuff. But yeah, for this one, for me, at the end of the day, it's just kind of like one note and just kind of forgettable. I don't know, just
Mm-hmm.
nothing
Yeah.
like really stuck with me about it, I guess. Um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's not like I hate it or anything, but just didn't really resonate with me. Other than, yeah, it like creates a space, it creates an ambience,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah.
not my favorite.
And I'll say a thing I'll just mention now, because it's becoming obvious how I feel about the album, and so it's not like revealing anything that I don't want to reveal now. Is like, for me, these songs, I can't remember if I said this on air on our last Ben Howard interview, or if it was just or if it was after we were done recording. But the this album for me, I forget where we were, has been in my top 5 albums on Spotify for 2024 and 2025, and then now we're like reviewing 2026. You know, decent odds of making it in top 5. Like, I've been really enjoying having this album on just as background music on walks, while I work. Also, when I just feel like listening, like, it's also a good foreground album with like the cool guitar work. Like, so I've hit it really hard. And when you listen to an album that much, and I would say this is an album that like a very high percentage of the time I listen to it, I just start with Small Things and listen to the whole album.
Mm-hmm.
So when you listen to an album that much, even the songs that like not that much is happening on, you just get to know them so often they get stuck in your head eventually, and then you decide you like them. And I would say that that's definitely true of this song. Like, I've had times where the song just gets stuck in my head, and I'm like, yeah, I like that song. So that's a variable that comes into play here when it's like has that many reps. Like, every song has had its day for me, to some
Yeah,
degree.
no,
So
that's fair. That
this
makes sense.
one has as well. And to me, that's like an indicator of the quality of the album, is that every song has had its day. Like, because that's not true of every album by any means, even ones that I really like. So,
Yeah,
but definitely one of the more forgettable ones. So let's get to the next song, because there's a lot more to say about the next one. I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I'll take it.
Yeah.
End of the affair. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite song on the album.
Yeah. Okay. That was my prediction.
Yeah, the first half of this one plays like something that could have maybe even been off the first album. It's only acoustic and vocals for a little while, very somber. If it ended there, it would maybe be forgettable like the last one for me. Although like I like it for I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I do like this even if just the slow portion on this one. I enjoy it more
It
than
really
Evergreen.
captures a pretty potent
Um,
emotion, I think.
yeah. Um, and then it just hard pivots into a full band instrumental with like desperate sounding, distant shouting
Yeah.
vocals, like the what the hell love.
Yeah.
It's I feel like it's like the biggest dose of passion on the album.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
Certainly one of my favorite moments. The flare of electric guitar is great. Both like there's like a borderline guitar solo. I mean, it's
Yeah.
stretching it to call it a guitar solo, but like you could almost call it that, which we've never really come close to something, electric guitar solo,
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
listening to
True.
everything.
Yeah, I even thought about that.
And just like the riffs basically at the very end, just like the song closes out very explosively
Yeah.
and dramatically, and yeah, I just this one
Was this the one that you were on to call it the drums?
actually no.
Okay,
I mean,
I was
I like it enough on
honestly,
this
I could
song, but
honestly
there's one I
see
like
the
her
drums
more
being
on.
called out in the last three songs. So, but I was wondering if it was this one or a different one.
Right.
But they, I guess they're like not necessarily the forefront because the guitar work and like the basically yelling, screaming is definitely the forefront of what's packing the biggest punch. But they do, they're going crazy, like you said, full band's coming in, like they're jamming out in this one in the back
Mhm.
half. And yeah, I mean, you captured it really well, so I don't have that much more to add. But and I think the couple things I will add here is just that I do think the evergreen flowing into this is part of what makes it so effective. Is you basically have this song that's like really slow emotion. You're in that space, and it carries that into this song. But then instead of staying there, it like escalates it into the kind of mix of. I kind of describe the jam session. It's like a very rare mix of fun and heartbreak. Like you can tell it's like there's a lot of broken emotion playing into
Oh
it, but
yeah.
also it's like a super sweet, fun like band going crazy, like you said, like awesome drums are frenetic, like guitar doing cool and dynamic things. Very cathartic release, and this feels like like the biggest antithesis to like one of the things that was sort of like a I'm probably like overemphasizing this, but I just don't think Every Kingdom was like strong at like having the longer songs stay interesting in the ways that you want long songs to stay interesting, and I think this one is like exactly how you like this song is this song does not and he's not perfect at it this album as we just talked about Time is Dancing. Like it's crazy that this song's almost is like a minute longer than Time is Dancing because Time is Dancing definitely feels like it's like 2 minutes longer than this song because you're just gripped by this song the entire
Yeah.
time and it's like 8 minutes. This song almost feels like it's like 4 minutes or something because it's just like it just carries you through it with like first this like very compelling like deep heartbroken kind of sadness of the and like how just like that slow beginning, I don't know, it just was really capturing like this depressed state of the narrator, but then it like carries that into the big ending and it just all feels so natural and like human. Yeah, so really really good. I would have been like absolutely shocked if this one like I definitely felt like I was guessing quite a bit on like what like whereas with Every Kingdom I was like I don't know how like you wouldn't have The Fear and Old Pine and Keep Your Head Up as like highlights on that album. It would just be pretty
Yeah.
crazy. This one was like I did other than this one, this was like the one I was like you have to have this one as a highlight. So I put
Right.
this as the song we'd both love.
I think I actually put Small Things, I believe, which
That's a safe bet too. Yeah, I mean definitely like that's a really good one. You're right, but this one I was like yeah, it just no, I could see a certain type of listener not having this be like their favorite song, but for you and I who appreciate like journeys of songs and yeah, just a lot of like the intricacies of like the lyrics with the guitar work and everything. Yeah, makes sense. It's a highlight for both of us. Really good one. Yeah, and I really like how, like I said, it carries forward like that melancholy and really the slowness of Evergreen, but then like totally breaks it off and goes into the most high energy portion of the whole album.
Yeah, no,
Really
and
really good.
it's interesting that you pointed that out too. Like I can see that, like, how you kind of get that with Evergreen and then stay in it, and then the sudden transition. on the flip side, I feel like it's a little too much of it in a row.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's each their own.
I think I would rather be transitioning off some like straight from what do you call it? Time is Dancing. And then
Yeah, I
go
mean,
to slow song.
that would be a pretty similar transition as what it is into Evergreen. It's so at the end of the day, so I can see that too. It would probably flow well.
But no, it's just
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I guess it's almost like a twist. Well, like it is, right? In terms of like, well, we just did Evergreen and we didn't go anywhere, and now we're kind of doing a similar thing again. And then wait, oh, now we're going. So like,
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to. Obviously,
Both,
it's just a slight difference
sides.
of sort of opinion and interpretation of the pacing and everything. But for me, this album is like masterfully paced. But obviously, just an opinion.
I generally agree.
Yeah, and I think actually, did I have that maybe as?
Oh yeah, we could
Okay,
probably.
my other strength is just that it's
stuff.
incredibly consistent. Yeah, I should have been. Yeah, you said fantastic guitar work. Acoustic doesn't shine as often, but there's still a lot of fantastic parts, layering electric guitars. Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much talked about that.
Many songs have distinct final movements. Often it feels like a bridge ends up never coming back to the chorus. Yeah, we talked about that too.
Yeah. Okay. I highlighted that already.
Yeah, and the atmosphere, spacious, rich atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I pretty much said all that.
Weaknesses I feel like are often easier to get to by the end of the album, especially
strong,
we
could probably go till the end on that.
Yeah. All right. You wanna? I can start. I think you started with that one, so I'll start Conrad. This one was a grower for me for sure. Conrad's an interesting one. It's actually one of the more popular songs in the album. It has almost 60 million plays, which really surprised me when I saw that because I think probably through that first year that this was a top 5 album, this was probably the most forgettable song on the album for me. It's another longer one coming at 6 minutes. Another one I would say you could argue that it's like this is one that could be shorter. But I feel like this one does a better job. Like it has some parallels to Time is Dancing. Like it's pretty rhythmic the way that's played. Like it's kind of repeating a guitar line, but the layers are more interesting. I think that's maybe one thing to call out about Time is Dancing. The layers there's not a lot of extra layers being added. It's kind of like the same thing repeated.
Yeah.
Which is clearly an intentional choice because like he did layers in other songs. It reminds me of some like Northlane songs off Obsidian, honestly. Time is Dancing. Like Northlane had a few songs that were just like we're just doing A B A B A B A B or whatever. Like, and that's what we wanted to do. Like, I don't know if you don't like that, don't listen to the song or whatever. And it's clearly it was intentional. Like Clockwork was kind of like that, and that's like one of their biggest hits, and I freaking love that song. But it's just literally like verse chorus verse chorus verse chorus bridge chorus. Like, I think it's even like 4 choruses on that song maybe because it starts with a chorus. Yeah, so it's like chorus verse chorus verse. And then chorus, it's like ends up being 4 choruses basically, and all the verses are like not that different either. So all that to say, it's just it kind of reminds me of some of what Northlane was doing, and but this one I feel like is kind of like that, but a much better version of it basically. Like I think the lyrics. So this one's about a book too, but it's like using the story of a book to paint a picture of like a relationship that's ended. I think, and I think like that imagery, I appreciate the lyrics more after realizing that basically it was one that I would say the lyrics were like kind of abstract to me for a while, but then they made more sense and were a little more like I had a little more connection to them after learning how like what it was about. And then this is one where I feel like the layers are used effectively. Like I just think the song grows and morphs a little bit as it goes. Like you get more engrossed in it, gets more interesting musically, and the emotion becomes a little more palpable as the song goes on. And I think the little like guitar line and there's some like subtle drums that I think again aren't necessarily emphasized in the mix, but like they are. I feel like I noticed it in the live performance too. I can't remember what type of drum there, but they make like a pretty unique like little sound. It's not like normal drumsticks on a drum kit type sound. For parts of the song, maybe it becomes that later, but the percussion stuff I think is unique and cool in this one. So yeah, it's one that has kind of risen up over time for me, and I enjoy it a lot more now. And it's definitely, I would say I like it more than like Time is Dancing Evergreen. She treats me well. It might be like the lowest song on the album for me after those, but that's frankly like a pretty high bar. All the rest are really good. So I think even those ones are quite good in my opinion. A thing I would basically say about this album, I was thinking it's maybe not 100% true, so it's like I'm saying a version of a hyperbole just as an attention grabbing thing, but I sort of think this album doesn't quite have like an Old Pine or like The Fear on it type song of the year type song in my opinion, but like pretty much every song on this album is better than every other song on Every Kingdom that isn't one of the top 3. Like it's basically like almost the entire album is all better than like song 4 on Every Kingdom, but like none of them are like song of the year type songs. So really consistent album. Obviously a couple of the weaker songs you could probably pick a little bit of a bone with that. Like I said, I'm kind of saying that for hyperbole to prove a point, but it is just like a really consistent album in my opinion, and this one fits the bill as another really good, really enjoyable song. So
Yeah, no, that's fair. Um, yeah, I like this one. I pretty much echo what you said. Um, I can kind of see how it's popular just because I feel like the chorus is just a particularly like good, pretty catchy, good sounding chorus. I like
yeah, that's true.
the humming in this
Yeah,
song.
I do really like the humming actually. Yep. It took me a
Uh,
while to realize how much I liked it.
yeah, this was definitely a grower for me too. Um, the lyrics, I still don't really know what's going on. And I've called out lyrics a couple times. Lyrics are probably the thing I care about the least in
Yeah,
music
you
in
mentioned that. It always
general.
surprised me a little bit. I mean, I
But
somewhat agree because the main thing I'll say is if lyrics I think are specifically bad, that's like a huge detriment for me.
yeah, yeah. And I'm not saying that these are bad by any means. I'm just saying I don't understand them.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna make a parallel at the end of the album that will show I agree with you. Uh,
but yeah, no, I mean, I like good lyrics. I guess it's interesting that you said that. Yeah, if they're really bad, then I'm obviously going to notice it, right? So like there is a certain like level of extremely this is bad that it's going to affect me. But it's like barring that level of extreme, it's usually not like. I guess I'll just say it's not usually a focus for me. I still
sure.
appreciate lyrics and like lyrics and notice them and like good lyrics and don't like boring cliche lyrics, but it's not like a huge. I just don't usually comment on them as much, but I've said a few comments on these. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe just because it's so singer songwritery that they stand out to me a little more.
Yeah, and they're very metaphorical. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the lyrics on this album give a lot to chew on. I think this is a really strong lyrical album personally.
I
Yeah,
think overall, yeah, for sure, totally.
it probably helps these two mostly just because I think learning like inspirations that are not just like it's a relationship tends to help the songs feel like they have more texture. But yeah, Conrad, there's an author Joseph Conrad, and he had a lot of like maritime stuff. He wrote a lot about like maritime themes, I guess, and plots. I don't know his work that well, to be clear. I just know this from like, reading about this song. But like in one of his books, I think it's like a captain sends a ship out in really bad conditions where they're basically doomed, but he has like some reason why he sends them out. I don't know the intricacies of the plot, but so he's drawing an analogy of like and the ship crashes and everyone on board dies because this captain decides like this boat needs to go do this thing even though the weather's really bad and it's pretty much obviously doomed. But the captain has this conviction that like they need to go do this thing. And so he's drawing the analogy of like you were the boat that breached in a tale of Conrad's. So, we will never be the change to the weather and the sea, and you knew that. So that's referencing the plot of that book where this ship gets sent out. And he's obviously drawing some analogy to this relationship that failed.
Okay.
To that,
Okay. I'm
probably helps you understand it a little better. I mean, I still don't know that that it's necessarily
it's
clear
pretty
as
dense. Yeah, but
it's still not like incredibly transparent what the meaning is, but that gives a little more. Yeah, and then
no,
End of the Affair is interesting too because it's about. Let me look that up while we're talking. If you don't feel like we need to be done talking quite yet. Because I actually thought that's based off a book as well.
oh yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
I think the book's actually called End of the Affair. What's it called? Maybe not though. Let's see. If I can't find it quickly, I will stop looking. Okay, yeah, it's named after a Graham Greene novel called End of the Affair, I think. Um, and in that novel, the novel was about basically. Dang it, I wish I could. I found this before. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time finding it, but the gist of it is it's about there's like a love triangle where there's two women, and it's like I think it might be before like a war. and maybe like World War II or maybe World War One. I'm not sure. It depends on like when the author wrote the book, obviously. But basically, there's this like love triangle where there's this married woman, and then there's this other character, another woman, who's in love with the wife, and they have an affair. Like they fall in love and have an affair. But then this war starts, and it like throws the whole world into their whole world into chaos, and it like I think like where they live gets devastated by this war or whatever, so they like lose track of each other for a while. And then when they like reconnect, the like married woman has basically like, oh, I'm like, and I could literally be wrong. This is just what I read, but like I might be off on the like details, but the big picture, she's like either fallen back in love or is now like redevoted to the husband and is like, I'm not gonna have this affair with you anymore. And then the like other woman is kind of left stranded of like, oh, I don't like I just have to like keep living my life now. What is my lover just basically decided to go back to this other thing, and like we just have to I have to find a way to exist again, you know, in the world. Well, like my lover has just chosen a different thing. Um, so I think it's using that story, and I don't think the song is necessarily only about that story, but I think it's like taking that like version of a relationship story to obviously be its own relationship story in and of itself. But so, anyways, now you know a little bit more
No,
than you
yeah,
knew before.
that's interesting. Yeah, I would not. I would have just guessed it was like about his own personal life.
It might be, and it might
Well,
be that
like
like
it
this
could
thing
be
happened.
related
I
in
think that's the
that
thing with that and
book
Conrad. I
background.
think
It's
it
like
seems pretty evident that he probably did have some broken relationships in the period of time when this album was being crafted, because
yeah,
there's like those two songs and what's the other one? I forget where we were. I feel like are all pretty clearly about. And I think Time is Dancing is maybe like a relationship song too. I don't know, hard to tell.
I think so too.
But there's definitely a handful that are like somewhat open-ended, but clearly like struggling with broken relationships for various causes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thanks for the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. You know, I don't often do like deep dives on lyrics. I did like look up a couple of these,
I've been doing a
but
little more. Like I feel like I did it with The Hands That Thieve quite a bit, and I was like got a
yeah,
lot out of it. It helped me understand a lot of the
I
songs better than I was doing it
I
with some of
should have
these
done
too.
it some more. I think it would have helped me more, especially on like Conrad and um, Rivers
I
of
mean,
Your Mouth,
sometimes it
perhaps.
just takes time to get around to that kind of stuff. It's not obviously that objectively important, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, when there's particularly cryptic songs, a lot of times I'm like, I just need to at least have some degree of understanding. Like I remember being like, with they broke him down or whatever. Like I was like, I
yeah,
just feel like I'm really not there on this. I need some help. I
yeah.
need like to like be able to sing along with it more satisfyingly.
Right. Yeah, I totally get that.
All right,
Okay.
track
All is now
10.
armed.
Yeah.
All
What do
right,
you
I
think of
think
this
it's
one?
my turn.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
You said you had 4 highlights, so
Yeah, I was gonna say this is my last highlight, right? I didn't
yeah.
already reveal four, right? Yeah, okay. Let's make sure I didn't screw something up. Yeah, this is my last highlight. Yeah, really loving the layers in this one. I think the guitars and drums just work together really well as they like build up on each
Yeah.
other.
This is
It
the
just
drum song.
creates this like rich backdrop for Ben's vocals. I feel like this is like again that's happened throughout the album, but I feel like this one for me is where like the drums are working most well with the guitars, and it really feels like it just all comes together
Yeah.
really well. And then the way that the vocals sit on top of that backdrop, um this is my favorite drum song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Figured.
this is a very very good closer. I really enjoy the vocals, particularly on this song throughout. I mean, I always like his vocals, but I feel like they stand out on this song to me.
Yeah.
I really like that this song begins and ends with only drums. I think that's
Yep.
a nice little nod to like, okay, we're gonna give them a little more of a highlight
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, and like the ending of the song, it the drum part at the very end, it kind of sounds like the drum part at the beginning, but it's like a little variation. I think I
I
don't
don't think
know
I
if it's
ever even
actually
noticed
like
that.
supposed to sound similar or not. It could just be me, but I think it's cool. I think it's cool how they did like the opening and closing little drum parts. Yeah, I feel like this like wraps things up very well emotionally
Yeah.
for the album as a whole. I feel like it ends it on a high note. Yeah, just like I think it's an effective closer and one of the better,
Yep.
if not best, examples for me of like the strength of the layers creating a
Yeah.
nice.
I totally agree, and it's I think it like really ends where he began, kind of too. Like it's really satisfying in that way, both frankly in like musically and lyrically. Because I think lyrically this song, I'm guessing a little bit, and again I read some interpretations online to help me feel like I just saw more what other people were seeing. But I think this song is about like anxiety. You know, it talks about like as a child it was not there, not scared of certain things, was calm. But then you know basically now it's in your nature, it blooms inside your blood. All is now harmed. Like it feels like basically kind of a commentary on mental health, a little bit of like things were simpler. This wasn't always the way that it was. But the older I've gotten, the more I've had to like struggle and wrestle with things in my mind, which I think is like the most closely tied to small things lyrically. And then yeah, it's different than it doesn't have like the same version of like a resolution or an outro that small things has, but it has a lot of like the layering, like you said, and it builds and it's pretty dynamic throughout. Like starts slow and then keeps
Yeah,
adding and kind of building an energy. And yeah, it's a really satisfying ending, really good ending song. So
yeah, not as much of like a climax moment
yeah,
necessarily, but yeah, it feels dynamic still. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. There's I don't did you watch just the live ones I sent you, or did you watch any others?
that's all I've watched so
Okay.
far.
I would
Yeah.
highly recommend you look up an End of the Affair and All Is Now Harmed in that like live lounge setting or whatever that he
Do they
like.
just play the whole album in that
They might
session?
honestly, I don't know,
Okay.
but there is at least one of All Is Now Harmed that's for sure that same session with like Conrad and Rivers in Your Mouth,
Okay,
and it's
cool.
really
I'll
good. I would
definitely look that
really
up.
recommend you watch that one. Really good performance of that one, and then End of the Affair. I didn't actually. There's a lot of videos of End of the Affair since I think that's just like one of the ones that's seems obviously cool to watch live. But I don't know for sure if
Yeah.
it's like the same session. You could maybe find one the same session, but I would recommend. I watched a couple live videos of the affair, and I would recommend you do the same. Pretty fun to watch. He plays guitar in some pretty cool ways. Um, well, he doesn't always play it in the same way. Like
Hmm. No,
watch,
I'll definitely look them up. That those seem like they're just
like
good.
here, watch this really quick. Um, I don't. Hopefully, I don't get I forget where we were live. Any weird YouTube thing here. But like,
Just don't play with the sound on.
okay, yeah, I probably don't need to actually.
My 73.
All right, skip this ad. But like, this is that beginning part of I forget where you were. If you can picture that beginning riff, like watch how he plays it on this guitar. It's crazy. He's tuning. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, he's got the overhand.
That's how he plays
Okay.
the like dun 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 dun. Dun. I'm just like, what? I've never seen this part. He plays some pretty cool ways on End of the Affair too.
I
So
wonder if he does that because it's actually an advantage somehow, or if he's just doing it to like have a little trick. You
yeah,
know?
I mean I don't know because there's levels to guitar work that I don't know, and I think he's
Right.
probably
Yeah.
explored every and all way. The main thing
Yeah.
I can tell you in response to that is he's certainly a performer, so that probably
Yeah.
factors in.
Right.
But he's also certainly an artist, and so I don't know. There's probably some
Maybe.
maybe the reason why he does it that way is just for how cool it looks performing, but I
Right.
don't that could be a sufficient reason. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we've covered everything. That one didn't quite make my highlights, but I actually feel really proud. Was that what I picked here? Yes, I picked that one. I picked All's Now Harm Would
Oh,
Baby.
you
I
nailed
was
it.
that I was felt really unsure on this one. I was like, I thought
Wait,
about picking Time Is Dancing as like a total flyer. Glad I didn't pick that one. Thought about picking I Forget Where We Were because I was like, it's the most popular song. Maybe it makes your highlights, but no, I went
Yeah.
with All's Now. I was like, I bet the drums and the emotion, and that one's like definitely up there for me. I just think these ones beat it out for various reasons that we've already discussed. And then song that I thought I would like more than you was Rivers in Your Mouth. So I had a good run. I think I was a little wrong on this, but maybe there's some stuff that we'll see. Like if you have some summaries and the weaknesses that kind of cover this. So, well, actually, I guess I should wait for your weaknesses. Let me cover mine really quick, and then cede the floor to you because we probably talked about. Yeah, I think I kind of mentioned this. I do feel like for me, this is a very very good album. So we'll get to the final rating, but you probably can already guess what it is. But I do think it's not a perfect album. I think it doesn't have like a song of the year level song. Basically, I would say for me, it's just so it doesn't have like an Old Pine or the Fear caliber song, which is just holds back a little bit. It's also a classic thing I say about like lots of albums is like it's 10 songs. If it was 12, if it had two more songs that were equal quality, that would just make it better. So it's like a bit of it's not really short on length because a lot of the songs are long, but it is just 10 songs at the end of the day, so it's not like a long album, not like content wise. Um, and then yeah, I do feel like this is a pretty minor weakness. I think when you're talking about, basically just to show you where my headspace is at before showing my final rating, when you're talking about the difference of like a 4 or a 5 on my rating scale, where I have like basically 5 is like this is a true classic timeless album that few ever reach. 4 for me is like album of the year candidate, like few if any true weaknesses, but like perhaps lacks the something extra that just like puts it a cut up. Like it just the 5 for me is sort of like the what is the that has something about it that can't even necessarily be put into words perfectly, but just differentiates it from like almost all other albums I've ever listened to. And I think between like not having a top tier like true like this was my song of the year I discovered this album, or like top 5 song of the year type thing, and then I think like there's a little bit of a missed opportunity of like tying in a little more to Every Kingdom. Like to be clear, I think one of the strengths is that it's not Every Kingdom 2.0 by any means, not even Every Kingdom, not even a hybrid Every Kingdom, but like the space that In Dreams is at, like could there be 11 songs and one other song is in here somewhere that's just like something closer to like Promise vibes basically, right? Because Promise and Gracious kind of have like a little bit of like more introspection and deeper thinking themes perhaps, and they're definitely not in the realm really of like moody. I would say Black Flies is the only song in the realm of like moody, and it's like the weakest song on the album, so that's why I'm not calling that one out. But like could there just be something that feels like it ties the work in a little more to Every Kingdom? That would be probably a little satisfying, especially if it was like not one of these 10 songs. You kept all these 10, but you just added like an 11th, and it was something in that vein. I think that could be like additive and just make it like a little more like, oh, I see how we got here a little more kind of vibe a little bit, which isn't like that important. It just would like maybe give it a little something extra. Yeah, so those are like my main weaknesses. I don't think this album has that many weaknesses. Like I think having a section of songs that's like a few songs that are weaker than the others is not really a weakness. Like that's kind of just true of pretty much every album, to some degree. I mean, like obviously you can have an album that's 10 flawless songs, and then like that's probably basically a 5-star album. But I think for the purposes of like album of the year caliber album, like for me, there's not any super huge weaknesses.
Yeah, that's
So
fair. Yeah,
yeah,
we can look at mine
yeah.
now.
What,
I basically said your
oh, lyrics
first
in the art.
one in so many words. Yeah, the lyrics one, don't give too much credence to that. It's a minor critique.
Yeah.
It's not even. I don't even know if I'd call it a critique. I just put it on there because I'm like, man, some of these songs, they pretty much require you to do additional reading to figure out what the hell's going on. But
I would say that was true of a couple of them. So
I mean, that's probably true of more albums than I'm really giving credit for right now. I just don't always pay attention to it. I just happen to this time.
Yeah.
So it's a very minor thing. I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah,
The
definitely
next
depends on
one,
the songwriter, but I think that's probably not that uncommon in the music that we're listening to in these
yeah,
types of reviews. Like we're not listening to like Taylor Swift where it's like incredibly
right.
obvious what they're talking about in every single song.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's just like, well, yeah, no, I don't need to go any deeper on that. Okay, the next one. So, yeah, sometimes feels understated or somber to a fault. So, let me clarify on this
Mm.
one. Like, it's totally clear that that's what he's going for. It
Mm-hmm.
like this album does like such an immaculate job of building an atmosphere and creating like a musical experience. It feels like I think I put in my strengths. Yeah, it almost feels like you're stepping into a story. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not a continuous story, but it
Yeah.
almost feels like you're in a
Yeah, I
world.
could actually see that. Yeah.
Um, like,
Like
but I,
almost concept album-y in a way.
yeah,
Like in terms of how cohesive it
right.
is.
Yeah, it almost like feels like a concept album without actually being one. Um, but having said that, like if you zoom in instead of zooming out, and if you
Mm-hmm.
zoom out and see the thing as its whole, it's like, wow, it's this beautiful piece of
Mm-hmm.
art. Totally see what he's going for. But when I zoom in personally, I do find several songs that I pretty much I think like 5, 6, 7, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. She treats me well.
like
Time is
I'm
dancing
like pretty
evergreen.
sure a good portion of the time in the future listening to this album, if I'm not like dedicating
Mm-hmm.
to sit down and listen to the whole thing, I'm probably gonna skip those. Like pretty often, I'm probably gonna want to listen to 1 through 4 and then 8 through 10.
Yeah,
Like, I
that
mean,
makes
maybe
sense.
we'll see. It depends
Yeah,
on the setting.
I
Obviously,
think
there's
that's
gonna be
fair.
times when I listen to the whole thing, but um, there's that, and like even some of the songs that I guess what I'm getting to in super long-winded form is I think this album's like carried pretty hard by like 5 songs.
Mm.
And then there's like a few good supporters, and then there's a few I don't really care about.
Mm.
But that's when I'm zooming in, looking at each individual song,
Mm-hmm.
and like looking at the thing as a whole. It made this really hard for me to like give a score on, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like and my last point, I'm pretty much beating
Mm-hmm.
around my
Yep.
last point too. It's like
Yeah.
I don't think there's any song on here individually that I like as much as Old Pine or The Fear. Um,
Yeah.
but
Same.
it definitely feels like a more cohesive
Yes.
whole piece. But am I going to go back to it as much? How much
Yeah.
should that factor
Very
into my
valid
room?
question.
It's
Yeah.
just like it's hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
And I
I
have
guess
the
that's
benefit
what,
of like 3 years of listening to it now. Like I think rating an album after like a month of listening to it is like sort of a fool's errand a little bit. Like we're obviously trying pretty
it's
hard
really
to do
tough.
the exercise thoughtfully, but it's like you're kind of guessing where you're gonna land
A
at the
little
end of the
bit,
day because
yeah.
like a month isn't enough time to like actually know. So I would say like everything you're saying makes total sense. Like it is a bit of a guess with where you're at. Whereas for me, I'm like, well, I have 3 years. I know exactly where I land in this album, right? Like I don't have any questions at this point. So
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's. I feel like I rambled a little bit, but
no, you painted
hopefully
the
it
big
made
picture though,
sense.
and I think I really like. I do think lyric piece notwithstanding, what you said was pretty minor because I think I
Yeah,
probably just like don't agree that that's a weakness personally, but that's obviously very subjective. Well, all of it is, but that particularly lyrical content can be. But the other stuff I think is like very parallel to like what I think's the weaknesses, which is like not a clear top 1 or 2 songs. You're just like, well, I just pretty much always like listening to Old Pine, so I just go back to it all the time, kind of thing. Like,
right, right.
not quite. I will say there's some songs that are like maybe inching towards that cat. Like Small Things. Small Things is my favorite song on the album at this point. Um, and
Small Things is great.
it's
Yeah.
really gotten up there for me in terms of like I do come back to that one a lot more, but I still wouldn't put it quite in the same tier as like the top few on Every Kingdom. Uh, but yeah, I think what you said about like I think part of what is like honestly kind of fascinating about doing this album review after Every Kingdom and why I was so excited to do it a little bit was like these albums are like so strong in different ways. Like Every Kingdom has like the top hits and then still has a good supporting cast too. But for me, this album is like such a great, like what you said, consistent atmosphere, like holistic experience of listening to a whole album. This album is like clearly superior in that regard to Every Kingdom.
Yeah.
So they're sort of like what their biggest strength is like completely different, which is
Right.
just kind of
Yeah.
fun when it's like album 1 and 2 for
Fascinating.
an artist. So um,
Yeah.
a comp I wanted to draw that now that we've said everything is like I thought about this as I was prepping for the album review and I was like I actually think that's like pretty real. Is I like there's certainly differences to be clear. Like it's not like 1 to 1 this is exactly the same, but like I feel like Ben Howard's career arc is definitely a falling up career arc. Like Every Kingdom is the Dawn Escapes. It's like much higher accessibility for the audience that is intended for. To be clear, obviously they're not the same genre. And then like I forget where we were. Is still there's less access as to the degree that this is like clearly not that accessible, right? It's like not made for radio by any means.
No.
But trust me when I tell you this, if we're gonna do more Ben Howard, which I would be open to if you are, the accessibility factor can go much lower than this.
That's interesting. I don't even know what that means.
It just like
Wow.
I would say this is like Captiva, and the next album after this is The Fangs.
Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
would say.
I mean, I was already curious where he goes after this, but now I'm more curious. Wow. Okay.
but like I will say part of what he leans into that, like, to not foreshadow too much, but you can guess a little bit and to gauge your interest. He definitely just goes really spacey in terms of like
Mm.
he likes spacey as in like he likes creating these like soundscapes, and some of them kind of go nowhere, but that's kind of that. Some of them go places and are sweet, and some of them don't. Just like on this album, we get a taste of
Yeah.
that. Frankly, that was even a little true of Every Kingdom. Like in hindsight, you kind of look back, you're like, yeah, it kind of happened with Black Flies, I guess. It just wasn't really that experimental of a song at the end of the day. But
Right.
so yeah, I don't know. That's something to think about. I think we're gonna definitely do other stuff that's not Ben Howard for a little bit, but I would definitely. The thing that I'll say to either just pique your interest in at least listening to it, and then you can decide. You can tell me if I've already listened to the next two. I've listened to. He has 3 more full-length albums, and I've listened to the next 2 quite a bit, and I haven't gotten to the 5th one that came out in like 2022 or 2023 or something like that. Actually, maybe it came out in 2024. It's like not that old yet, the most recent one. But the thing I'll say is that my favorite Ben Howard song, it's really hard to say, but I've, again, kind of saying that it's very slight hyperbole. It's like, it's in the same tier as like Old Pine and those ones, but like probably my favorite Ben Howard song is not on either of the albums we've reviewed so far. So there's some pretty sick stuff on his other albums, but
yeah, there's a good chance I'll like start listening to them.
Yeah, okay.
Especially with how long this one needed to grow. Like I feel like I probably had, it varies a little bit depending on the song, but I probably had between 10 and 12 listens on most of this. With like a little more tacked on for those live videos, I guess, but so I feel like that's not enough.
Yeah,
it was enough for me to give my thoughts on
right.
it.
Yeah, I mean it's enough to like say what you think of it, but certainly, for me, this album, my opinion on it has definitely evolved and grown over the couple of years.
Ahead of future Ben Howards.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it could be fun to. Yeah, it would be fun to do it too in a way where it's not just like, okay, you're listening to it this month and then reviewing it. Like, yeah, you could just start listening to it and we could decide to do it later if you think it's worth it. So
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I do think they kind of parallel, falling up a little bit, which is kind of funny. Like, he definitely goes pretty full experimental, but then
that's interesting.
I think his next album is his most experimental, and then he kind of like reins it in a little bit, which kind of Falling Up did too. They were like Fangs, and they're like, okay, we'll do like Hours now, And you're like, okay, this is still experimental, but it still isn't just like
not quite as out there.
But yeah, but it's like it has choruses that are catchy and riffs that are cool and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay. Let's see. Song David will like more than me. What did I say?
You said Rivers in Your Mouth.
Oh yeah, hey.
Yeah, you nailed it. All right, wow, we're on fire here.
I will like more than David. Oh, I think I got this
okay.
wrong. Yeah, we both.
We both picked it, but you could be right. I don't know, depending on where exactly you rank it.
In Dreams, it sounded like we landed about the same place on it.
Same place.
To be honest, yeah.
Well, hey, these are tough. They're just fun thought exercises. The thing that I guess I was like kind of right on. I also think these are just hard. So, but it's just.
Yeah,
it's a fun thought exercise, but we're always just guessing. But I think I was half right, but I said you would miss the faster paced highlight moments from Every Kingdom a bit more than I do, which I think we just both missed it. I don't think you missed it that much more than me. And I said you will perhaps more strongly feel that the album is held back by how slow and moody it is, which that piece I think was probably slightly true. I think
that is a little,
it sounds like maybe at least and it's funny, I specifically said Time is Dancing and Evergreen. So
he called those out. Yeah.
We both agree those are like not the strongest songs on the album, but I think for me they're still not like skips. What was your random thing I'll highlight? David will emphasize the atmosphere created in this album, the emotional resonance.
Like we both did that. I didn't know what to say, man. This one is always hard for me. I don't know.
I'm just trying to make it fun. I'm just trying to think through. I think it's fun to just be like, what will you think? It's sort of like leading questions to sort of pre-think about what the other person will think, which is just kind of, mostly I just think it's fun because like how often do you get to do that and then like actually then just talk about the thing for 2 hours with your friend.
Right.
It's like pretty fun. It's just a fun exercise.
I love the prediction section. I just need to get better at that last one. I'm just like always.
Yeah, the last one it's hard to like. Especially because we tend to agree pretty closely, so it's like that's the thing that feels the most of a cop out to me. Is it's like You'll say the same thing I'll say, is sort of like
Right,
what I
that's
always
pretty much
end up
my
saying. So I
yeah.
try to think of what like you might think more
Yeah,
specifically than me. But yeah,
right.
that's obviously tricky. Well, yeah, so I gave this a 4. Um, I think it's closer to a 4.5 than a 3.5 by like ease. Like I'd say for me, this is like 4.2 or something. It's not
Mm.
a 5. It's not really close to 5 necessarily, and like, but it's like an album that I think is. I mean, obviously, it's been literally like a album of the year candidate for 2 consecutive years, like in terms of just where it lands and how much I listen to it. So it can't like I have literal data to back up that this is what it is. So it's a pretty easy rating to give. But for all the reasons we talked about, obviously, I think it's a super strong album, really really cohesive. But yeah, it doesn't quite have kind of the extra oomph to like elevate. It's like true absolute classic amongst like all albums that I listen to.
Yeah, that
So
5 is it's tough.
yeah, it is.
Sometimes I want quarter ratings.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you can call it out like I did. I think it's like a
yeah, no,
point to
yeah,
which documenting it doesn't. It's just like use the bigger chunks because that's just what makes it practical. But
no,
like I said,
yeah.
it's this is probably like a 4.2 to me or whatever. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but
I pretty much call that out every time too. Yeah, so I gave this one a
three and a
3.4,
half. Yeah, okay. I was kind of
which
thinking it sounded like you're maybe a little lower than me. So this is what you gave Every Kingdom
Okay,
too.
wait, the half star did actually show up this time.
Yeah.
Dude, but on my screen it's not.
What? That's weird.
Oh, it's probably because I'm on a freaking Mac.
The Mac can't handle the half star character.
I guess not because it's a box on mine. Okay, anyways, um, yeah, I gave it a 3.5. I was actually waffling a lot on this one between. You might be surprised between a 3 and a 3.5. I was
Yeah,
really,
no, that's fair.
and
Okay.
honestly, I
So would you rank
maybe
every? You
I
think Every
was
Kingdom's a little higher then maybe?
well.
Or that might have been where Every Kingdom was for you too, I guess.
I was stuck on that because I was like I gave Three Kingdoms or every kingdom 3 kingdoms.
Yeah.
Every kingdom I gave a 3.5 as
Yeah,
well.
we both gave it a 3.5. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just like, man, like no, there's no like my favorite songs on Every Kingdom I like more than my favorite songs on this one. However, I just like can't ignore that this album as a cohesive whole is a better cohesive whole to me than Every Kingdom. And yeah, just like even if I don't love some of the songs, and even if I think there's a few skips, and even if whatever I would have changed, whatever.
Hmm. Which that
Just
was
like
true of
yeah.
Every Kingdom too, to be clear, right? So.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's what it like came down to for me. I was like on the border of giving this one a 3 because I was like, man, I really feel like it's kind of like being held up by like 5 songs.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just like I think overall I like it maybe like a tiny bit more than
Hmm.
Every Kingdom actually. It's
Okay.
really they're really
Yeah.
neck and neck for me, but it's crazy because I like them for different reasons, totally different reasons.
Yeah. Well, they're so different. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
really like them for the same reasons.
No, yeah.
Really.
Yeah, sorry. It's not crazy
I'd
that
be
I have
curious.
that
Do you think you'd
opinion.
share any of this with like? Because I know you said you shared some of the other one with like your sisters, or at
Mhm.
least with Annie. I don't remember it was both your sisters. But do you think
Annie, yeah,
have you
Annie
shared any of
Andrews.
this one, or
Yeah.
do you think you will, or does it seem like I don't know what music they listen to, so I'm not sure.
You know, they actually both get into some different stuff, but
Okay.
eh. I mean, I'll probably at least share it with them,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I was just
I
curious if you thought they
doubt
could
they
be.
will jump on it as much
Hmm.
as I could be wrong though. I'll
Yeah.
show it to him just to be like, look at how he evolved.
Yeah. Oh, hey,
They tend to
something.
be, my sisters tend to be more song listeners than album listeners
Okay,
these days.
yeah, that would hold this one back a
So,
little. Yeah,
which
this is
makes
definitely
this one
not a
a
song
tough
album.
sell.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Not a song album. Yep. Not at
yeah.
all. One thing I'll call out too, now that we've like, kind of went hard on Ben Howard, so like it wouldn't surprise me if we don't revisit it in this formalized fashion, kind of like for quite a while. There's an EP that was an intermediate between Every Kingdom and I forget where. So Every Kingdom was 2011. I forget where it was 2014. The
I
Berg
noticed this
Island
EP.
EP 2012, and it has some really freaking good songs on it.
I
And
heard, I was reading a couple of reviews of this album and saw people reference the EP. So
yeah, I would recommend. It's only 4 songs. I would recommend you like give that a go because I would say that EP probably slightly more closely resembles I Forget Where We Were than Every Kingdom still because it's still just he never really did exactly what he did in Every Kingdom. Okay, so I guess 2 things to call out. One, there's a deluxe Every Kingdom version with a bunch of extra songs that are full on extra versions of Every Kingdom vibe. They're just more Every Kingdom. and a lot of them are really freaking good. So if you haven't listened to those, definitely would recommend. But there's like a lot of songs. Some of our live versions, and the live versions are really good too. So yeah, basically, if you ever are feeling like I'm in the Every Kingdom mood and I want more, like actually just go listen to the deluxe version. There's like 8 extra songs or something, or 7 extra songs in there. Yeah, like
Okay, yeah, no,
like
I actually
most of
remember
them
that.
are really good. So
Yeah, I've not listened
um,
to it.
there's also a random single version of Keep Your Head Up that has a song called Depth Over Distance on it, and Depth Over Distance is really good. And that, like, I think technically maybe came out before Every Kingdom, or if it maybe it was right after, I'm not sure. It's like basically right around it. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is there is extra Every Kingdom content, if I can brand it that way. And then the Berg Island EP that actually came out, like a year after Every Kingdom or whatever, is like a little bit of an intermediary. I would think it's a little closer to Every Kingdom, mostly energy level wise. It's still pretty moody. Like, we're obviously not going to review an EP, so I'm just kind of telling you
Right.
the how I perceive it. I'm not trying to make you guessing or whatever. But so yeah, it's like pretty moody still, but like a little more high energy, a little more like, it's not really like Time is Dancing evergreen vibes. If anything, it's more like closer to like the actual like title track vibes, or like yeah, I don't know. That's maybe the best comparison.
I'll definitely check it out. I see that Oats in the Water is like
one of his
most played songs.
very popular songs. Oats in the Water has 85 million. That Depth Over Distance is 47 million. And like all the extras on Every Kingdom, there's like These Waters has 25 million, Empty Quarters has 20 million, Under the Same Sun has 30 million. There's like a chunk of songs that are like, there's like 7 songs in a row, and of them like a bunch of them have like 25 to 30 million plays. So yeah, they're like, and I've listened to a lot of those, and they're all really good in my opinion. So definitely would say, if you're like I know you liked Every Kingdom quite a bit.
I'll definitely check out these extras.
At some point, yeah, like at some point when you're just like, oh, I'm gonna put this on in the background, let me just put on the deluxe version or whatever, get 7 extra songs and give them a go. Because yeah, they're really good. And then when you move forward in the discography, so the next album, is Noonday Dream.
And
that one, yeah, that's the Fangs. So
okay,
that one is more to digest.
Cool. I'm excited for all of it. Yeah, I want to check out the in-betweens.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I'll almost, I mean, depending on how long it takes us, I guess I'll almost definitely listen to Noonday Dream a little bit before we review it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, well, let's pick our next album, because I'm excited to listen to some new stuff. I'm hit the Ben Howard hard once again.
Well, before we pick,
mm-hmm.
When does the new era come out?
It comes out in like a week or something.
I knew it was coming
So I feel pretty strongly that I want our next 2, unless you disagree, but like based on like past conversations that were recent about this, I feel pretty strongly I want the next 2 to be the new era and the Deer Hunter album that you want to review, Antimai, because you've been working on Deer Hunter for a while, and I feel like I would also like to do some Deer Hunter. It sounds fun.
Okay, era comes out on Friday, so
on Friday. Okay,
we should do that one.
And I guess that kind of might break up. Deer Hunter's probably a little closer to Ben Howard. That would break it up a little bit. I'm down to just do
not
era
really
next
close
if you want.
to either, to be honest.
I might start. Yeah, true. It's not that close. Yeah, I'm down. I might just start listening to Deer Hunter too. Maybe.
Okay.
I'll focus on it just to start getting some reps, because you probably already know that one pretty well.
Yeah.
And we can plan for the next one to be era, but then we might be able to do 2, like, not like 5 weeks apart or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I'll delete. I'll just let me look up what the era is even called. I don't remember. I've succeeded in not listening. I maybe listened to, like, because Era came out with 2 of their singles quite a while ago. I think you listened to all of it.
No, I have not.
Oh, you have not listened to it. Okay, I was like, oh wow, I'm surprised. Yeah, I think when they came out with Gore of Being and Echo Sonata, and I think I like listened to Gore of Being when it came out like a while ago one time, and then was kind of like, I really would like to save this for the album. So I now at this point it's been like 6 months or something. Like, they came out with that song forever ago. So, and I haven't listened to any other new stuff. So I've succeeded in keeping, and I haven't done that for a band that I like. I would consider myself a pretty big Era fan. So
it's tough because sometimes it bites me in the ass too. Like the Hot Mulligan, those like the Warmer Weather EP. I was convinced that was part of that album.
Yeah.
And it just never was. It's like by the time like the second or third one came out, I listened to them all because I realized it wasn't part of any upcoming
Yeah,
album. It's
yeah.
just like, oh no, I'm just wasting my time not listening to
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, that'll be
avoid-
really fun. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I thought Air came out like maybe like next week or something, but yeah, 2 days.
That's what I
It
was thinking
literally
too. Yeah,
releases
just
in.
double check.
This says it releases 2 days, 1 hour. Yeah. Okay. I guess. Yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. 1 day. Okay. Yeah. So that'd be Friday. Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
Yep. You know what else is coming out relatively soon?
I don't know actually. I don't
The
know. Any.
new Bill Murray.
Oh, the Bill Murray. I haven't listened to much Bill Murray lately. I kind of dude Bill Murray. I was like really into Bill Murray for a while, and I got a little tired of his like country shtick a little bit.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I'm definitely into the idea of listening to more Bill Murray because I was very into Bill Murray for a while, and then
Yeah.
it was like he did the version of a thing where like his album, The American Motorsports, I like really liked a lot of it at first, and then it was like, oh, these songs are all pretty formulaic and really similar.
Yeah.
So after like the first like 3, I was like, dude, I freaking love this. And then like by the time it was like the 5th, I was like, I listened to it one time. I'm like, I don't think I'm coming back to this one. I think it's just the first 3 or whatever are like the ones that I like the most, and those are the ones that I listen to. So
No, I'm pretty much with you there. I'm still like curious enough to at least.
I'm very curious. He's one of
but
those bands.
I'm not saying we should review it necessarily.
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I definitely have a lot of stuff. It's fun. Like I feel like I've built up a lot of stuff that I'm pretty excited to review. So like Bill Murray wouldn't be at the top of the list, but if it was at the top of your list, I wouldn't be upset about it. Or it was high on your list, I wouldn't be upset about it at all. But he definitely has like every one of his albums has stuff on it I really like. Like he's definitely an artist that at this point I've listened to I know pretty much every one of his albums, something off every one of them because there's really good stuff off every one of them. So if there's any of the works that you haven't listened to, obviously like we have lots of stuff competing for listening time, but like 400 Pound Back Squad has some sweet stuff, Goblin Hours has some sweet stuff. Yeah, whatever the fuck the other albums are called. Eggy Pocket has some sweet stuff, other album names that I'll be embarrassed to say.
At least songs off of all of them.
Yeah, Rich Sips.
I'm fuzzy on the whole albums situations.
Yeah, okay. But, yeah, it could be fun to do something like that eventually.
We can think about it. All right, so Era next.
Era's next, and then probably Deer Hunter. Yeah, I know we want to do Deer Hunter, and I want to give that one a lot of time. If it's anything like the other Deer Hunter, it's not going to be a ready in a few weeks type thing. So
yeah, it's pretty. I mean, well, you'll see. It's
less elaborate. I'm guessing it's less elaborate than Act 2.
Way different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
all right.
It's definitely like pretty involved. There's only 8 tracks though. They're just long.
Okay. All right, that'll help make it a little more digestible.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely not the hour and 20 minutes of Act 2. I think it's closer.
Yeah, that one's a big one. Act 2, that's a great example of an album that's like so fun to listen to all the way through, but just kind of hard to find the opportunities.
It's a lot. Yeah.
All right, well, for anyone listening in, thanks for tuning in. That was a ton of fun. Second Ben Howard. I can't wait to have Era. We're gonna do the second Era one soon. Really fun to do a second one from the same artist, and fun to see kind of where we tracked compared to the first one and how much we agreed. Excited to do that again with Era, and a band that we both have quite a bit of history listening to. So tune in next time. Until then, signing off. Later.